What's up? I just want to take a minute and talk to you. Here we are. We're now in 2022. We have a fresh year. We can make some fresh decisions. And I would challenge you to make 2022 the year of saying no. The year of I will not comply. And the reason I say this is when we go into some of our spiritual coaching, when we talk about how the devil and God have there's a spiritual war going on for our hearts, our minds, our souls, right? So this is happening in the background. And then there's also war that we experience that's happening in the physical, that's here on earth, that's what we see, it's tangible. And these two reflect each other. So the war of the spirit reflects in the war physically. When our hearts and our souls get corrupted, it then translates into the physical through, atrocities and different things that men do to one another, right? But this happens on a spiritual level first. And there's something that's really important for us to understand, that God has control, right? But God gives us freedom of will. And the devil has no actual authority over us except that which we grant him. And this is very important because the devil comes to lie, cheat, steal, and destroy, right? But the devil can't tell you what to do. He can only make suggestions. And then you agree with these suggestions and you act on it. And once you act on it, the devil then comes in because he's deceptive and he wants to crush you and hold you in bondage. What the devil then does is he then comes back, and the same thing that he kind of tempted you and persuaded you to do, when you act on it, he then comes in and then casts all this shame and goes, man, you really are a piece of crap. I can't believe you did that. If people knew how horrible you were, no one would want to be your friend. And now comes in the guilt and shame. And then you cover up the guilt and shame with lies. And then as you lie, he comes in and he gets another stronghold in your life, so on and so on and so on. And you go down this spiral, right, until you're held in so much guilt and shame and bad decisions and all these bridges that you've burned. He now holds you in bondage and he tries to keep you there. Now you are a slave to him. God is your creator, but you are a slave to the devil. But the devil has no control. You had to agree every step of the way. Yeah, I should do that. Yeah, wow, I am a piece of crap. Wow, if people really knew who I was, they wouldn't want to be friends with me. I need to lie and cover this up or go into isolation, right? So if we understand that part of the spiritual war, we have to understand that the people here who are trying to run our lives and dictate our lives, they run under the same protocols. They can't do anything without you agreeing to it. The only reason all this stuff is going on or has perpetuated the way it has over the last 2 years is because we agreed and went along. And now 2 years later, we had a lot of, you can listen to our podcasts, and there's been a ton of information that has come out where it was challenging what they were calling the science, right? I know people who work in the hospitals who since day one has been calling this whole thing bullcrap. Here in Florida, the numbers were huge, and then they called it out, and the numbers were being reported for people who had nothing to do, like a car crash, and then it gets reported as something else. The death was of something else because it was in the system, but although the person actually died from a car crash. But if the hospital signed off on that being a you-know-what death, then all of a sudden they would get a bigger check than if they had died from a car crash. So the numbers were skewed. But what did they do? They came and they lied, cheated, stole, and destroyed. They're following the devil's marching orders, just as all tyrants do, right? Our entire world is like in a huge abusive relationship, and you guys are being gaslit into convincing yourselves that you're the problem when it's really not. But we're agreeing to it, so we are creating, we are self-fulfilling this problem, right, by going along with it. But we've been lied to. We've been lied to since day one. And if we weren't being lied to, they wouldn't cover up the fact and have it put in a government order that the information around this can't be released for 75 years. If we were going to be honest, clear, and transparent, give us the information, let us make our own decisions. But that's not the case. We've been lied to from day one. We've had our rights and our liberties stolen, right? We've been cheated out of our businesses. We've been cheated out of our jobs. Our kids are being cheated out of their childhood and their health. But a big thing is when you go into all the counseling for different issues that people have, suicide, alcohol abuse, all this kind of stuff. When you track down the rabbit hole, it goes back almost every psychiatrist you talk to. It goes back down to the years of the life of a child up until 7 years old. What happens from a child between 1 and 7 basically lay the foundation that you will then grow and mature off of into an adult. So right now we are robbing and we're stealing these children's opportunity to learn communication skills and all the other things with being with one another, right? And learning how to communicate, learning how to read body language. You talk to communication people, 80+% of communication is body language and facial expressions. And we're taking this away from these children. They're literally not going to have the capability or the capacity to communicate on a level that you and I had growing up in a normal environment. And ultimately what they want to do is they want to destroy and hold us in bondage, right? And you go, Rich, this is crazy. You're being overzealous on all this. Well, if you go back and listen to our podcasts, JJ was in Europe. And he had announced a year and a half ago that when he was in Greece, they were implementing this website that you had to log into. You had to have an app. You had to get permission to leave your home. Dude, they're never going to do that. That's bull crap, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So if you're not actually paying attention to what's happening in Australia right now, right? Because I'm talking to friends in Europe. I was talking with a lady last night for probably about an hour about what's going on in Europe. I have friends in Germany. We have friends in the UK. We have friends in Australia, South Africa, Central and South America. I'm pulling in all the information from all the places. And again, America's falling into the position where it is up to us to save the world. It is up to us to stop this, right? And why? Because we're the only ones who have the Constitution. And we're the only ones who have the Second Amendment. So if you look at a country like Australia, Australia is literally, you are in bondage, enslaved into your own home. You're not allowed to leave. You have to check in with the government multiple times a day. They send you a text message on your app, on your phone, and you have 15 minutes to respond with a selfie geotagged with your location being within your home. If you're outside of your home or without your safe distance zone from your home, then you get a fine. Huge, huge fines, right? And I was talking about this. I was at the drop zone skydiving the other week, and I was telling some of the guys at the drop zone about this, and they hadn't even heard about it. They're like, no way, this is crazy. I'm like, yeah, dude, so if you're at dinner and you're having a family dinner and you get this text message, you have to just stop what you're doing. Oh, sorry, guys, hold on, I got to do my selfie for the government. Yeah, I'm here in my house, right? You're having dinner. All of a sudden, your wife gets her text message. Oh, we got to stop dinner again. She's got to go, right? And I was like, and the guy who I was skydiving with, who has just happened to be at the drop zone, he was here from Kuwait. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, they do that in Kuwait too now. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I gotta I have a little plastic case, like a Tupperware bin, that I put my phone in for when I take a shower. Because ours is, we have like 5 minutes to respond. So I don't want to miss that call because I can't afford paying the fine. So he brings his cell phone in the shower with him in a Tupperware bin, and if it goes off, he has to stop what he's doing, get out of the shower, take his selfie, send it to the government, and come back. This is bondage, people, right? That's not living in freedom, and this is all for something that has a 99 point whatever % survival rate. It's absolutely absurd. There is nothing other than to create bondage and implement other tyrannical policies that they're trying to do. But again, at the end of the day, we're the ones who have to agree to it. They keep pushing and prodding, take one little thing at a time, implementing it, get everyone all hysterical. Oh, then they throttle it back and they push it a little bit further, right? And each time we go, okay, if we just go along, it's all going to go back to normal. It's not. You walk yourself into the trap by agreeing, and what happens ultimately, if you do this long enough, you have to fight your way back out of it. This happens in toxic relationships. You incrementally go deeper and deeper into a toxic relationship until it gets to a part where it explodes. There's a huge breakdown, a huge fight, and you have to remove yourself from that environment. We want to try to stop that before it gets to that point. But if we don't start saying no, we will be in a very, very dire situation. And I know it sounds crazy, but if you look at the last 2 years and do an honest reflection of what it is that they've told you, right? They just came out this week. All the things that they had said, 14-day quarantine, 10-day quarantine, 30-day quarantine, depending on where you are. All this stuff that they said, they just came out and they go, yeah, 5 days is good. Oh, the PCR tests don't work. Oh, this. So all the stuff that they had saying the whole time, trust the science, trust the science, trust the science. If you don't trust the science, you're a denier or you're an anti-V, right? All this stuff. Gaslighting you again, guilting and shaming you for not going along with the flow. But the fact of the matter is they just came out and said, oh yeah, all that stuff was wrong. Our numbers were wrong. Our data was wrong, right? So why aren't they being set up why aren't they being called out for misinformation? Why are they having their stuff shut down for putting out the wrong science? Why? Because their game plan allows for them to cheat and to lie. They don't play on the same parameters that we do. We're trying to live ethically. Meanwhile, we're being bombarded with things that are being done unethically. And we're trying to fight a fair fight. We're trying to box in a street fight. You know what I mean? We're trying to play by rules while they're manipulating the rules. Okay? All of this stuff that they're doing, by the way, under our Constitution is illegal. They're constantly manipulating and rewording things and moving them around, and the way they present it is in a way that convinces you it is legal, but it's not. Like FDA approved. Well, there's actually not a single one that's being given out here in the States that is. There was one that they approved over in Europe, but that one's not even on the market here in the US. So all of that stuff, like, you guys are in a trial. You're in a test trial on something that has never been successful consistently in lab animals. And they went and made all of these things, and now they're like, well, we got to get rid of them. We got to do it. Oh, it didn't work. We told you you'd be fine if you got it. Oh, well, now you need the booster. Oh, well, now you need 2. Oh, well, there's one country in Europe, they're on 6. Where's the end to it? There is none. So let's make 2022 the year of saying no. Let's stop complying and start taking our rights back. Let's take our lives seriously. Let's take our rights seriously. Because, again, there's nothing that they're doing here that is legal. These are not laws. These are mandates. Mandates that were put in place by tyrants. And all these tech companies are just as bad. The devil has a legion. A legion, an army that comes and tries to attack you. That's why you get attacked from all these different ways, because you have all these different demons, right, that attack you and try to hold you in bondage in different ways. This is the same thing. there is the devil, but the devil is not always the one who is acting on your life. He has a legion. So there could be a devil politically, and there's a legion of foot soldiers that are out there implementing tactics and strategies to, again, put you into bondage. It happens spiritually, and it transfers physically. So I know it's kind of a deep talk to kick the year off, right? But I don't want us to go a whole nother year where 2 years ago we were talking about this and it was like, wow, this could be something, but it could be real. Let's just go along with it a little bit and see. And very quickly we started to see how we were being taken advantage of and how this is being manipulated. Even if it was real, they were taking advantage of this situation for their own gain. A year in, you're like, wow, this is bad. It's going to get worse. And a lot of people said, well, if we just go along with it, we think it'll get better. They're going to stop. They're only doing this for our own good. Here we are 2 years in, we're calling the BS flag. It is very obvious now that there is a personal agenda and your health is not at the top of that agenda. Okay? So I hope this helps. I hope this just kind of challenges you in a way to think of how in my life can I start standing up for myself, for my family, for my community, for country, and get our rights and freedoms back. Because remember, they only got taken away because we handed them over. So let's stop handing over our liberties and draw the line. And again, these other countries around the world, they're counting on us. Because our Constitution is the one that sets the stage for what other dictators can and can't get away with. No one's coming to rescue the people in Australia. Right? You don't hear any of our politicians talking about how the Australian people are being held in bondage by their government. Why? Because they want to do the same damn thing. No one in Europe's talking about it. Why? Because they're following suit on what Australia's doing. One of the guys who works for Full Spectrum Warrior, our buddy, he went over to do a job in Saudi Arabia. Because he has not got the vaccine, they have held him. They won't let him leave the country. He's been held. What does our government say? He called the embassy. This is a huge battle that's been going on behind the scenes from you guys, right? That's their solution. They're not like, hey, he has the right as a Christian not to take because it's against his, moral and religious blah, 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 blah. Our government's not defending him. Not one bit. Yeah, it's crazy that I have to try to not say the word because I know the tech companies are going to try to censor this because we said it. And now I'm probably going to get in trouble for spreading, misinformation, even though all these people are full of crap and they've been lying to you for 2 years. In fact, it's been longer than that because this has been something they've been planning for a much longer time. That's how Mr. F had said there was going to be a global P while Trump is president. He knew it. He knew it. They already had it planned. So anyway, 2022, get your life back, start saying no, and it's going to be difficult. All of us are going to have to give some, right? Whether it's our time or whatever. If you have a business and they say you have to hire whatever, start saying no. If you're a police officer, stop enforcing this crap, right? If you're a school teacher, stop, or if you're a parent, start going to these school board meetings. Because it's bigger than just that. It's all of the stuff that they're trying to do. They're trying to indoctrinate your children so the next generation hands over their freedoms and gets rid of the Constitution. The Constitution is the last thing holding all of this together. And they want it gone. And one of the ways that they're going to try to get rid of it is by convincing the next generation that we don't need it, that it didn't work, that it was a bad document, and we need to revisit it and change it into more of a socialist, communistic way of leadership and guidance, or how to manage a country, which is all lies. So anyway, I know this is getting long. 2022, let's make it the year of saying no. Do not comply.